Burnout has a few symptoms, and one of those is when you don't enjoy anymore what you used to enjoy doing, and very often it's related to your work or your business. And the second would be that you feel a constant stress. Everything that happens make you, feel like you're under pressure. And the third very common point here would be when you feel detached from your work, that nothing is fun anymore, nothing is exciting. You feel like you basically hate what you're doing, And those would be the common things that people are feeling when they're having a burnout. And I'm going through something like that at the moment, so I decided to talk about it. And don't worry, I'm feeling pretty fine, but I just realized that I've been working too much in the last couple of weeks, and then I tried to distract myself by a very prolonged weekend, so to say, where I had a lot of fun with friends and family, but actually what I've been doing was not very healthy. Before we go into it, I would like you to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so you will not miss my videos, which are coming every Wednesday on business and self-development, and hopefully next week, Wednesday, a new video is coming. But if I'm too tired, then maybe I will be streaming again from my bed. So when you're having a burnout, staying in bed is a good idea, but there are quite a few other things you need to do to recover from a burnout. So let's dive into it. First of all, what I would like to say is that when you're trying to push very hard on yourself, then sometimes you can reach a result, but very often only on a temporary basis. And if you're like in your 20s, then it can also work for a long period of time. I remember myself being a student and going to the university, then I could spend a few nights without sleep, just studying and then performing pretty well at exams. But this kind of lifestyle cannot go forever, At some point you feel like the more you push hard on yourself, the less the body responds to that in a positive way, and at some point it just collapses and says, okay, I need a break. I just don't want to do what you're telling me to do anymore. So our body can be a good slave, but only to some point, if you know what I mean. And because with age it will happen this way, that we cannot perform as well as we used to, and at the same time we might be in situations where we are also sick and tired and having too much stress and so on. And also when we grow up, usually we have more responsibilities. If you have a business, we might have a big team and we are responsible for a lot of people, or we have family and kids we have to take care of. It's a very smart thing to think about the future and to start some kind of a business or look for an income that can work independent from how much hours in a day you invest into it. The so-called passive way of receiving the income and the passive way of work. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything. Usually it would mean that you invest into some project and at some point it starts running on its own without you putting too much effort into it, except for maybe a few hours per week, which is still working, but not 8 hours per day or 16 hours per day as some people work. And it's very hard to believe, but it is like that. So if you have this idea of working on some kind of a passive kind of income, then consider watching my free training on building a drawing business. There is a link in the description below. You can check it out. I hope it helps, because in my case, since I felt that I'm having something very similar to a burnout, I decided to spend 1 week doing basically nothing. First I decided to have some intense days, but now I realize that I need just to stay very calm and very nice to myself. can afford it in the way that I can afford granting myself this week of doing mostly nothing because I'm having those income streams that allow me to decide when I have to work and when I don't have to, when I can just relax and do nothing, basically. And this is quite a luxury nowadays. But on the other hand, everybody can organize one's life this way, that we don't have to think about, if you have a business that is dependent on you and you have to perform every day, then at some point it might collapse because you are getting tired, you're having burnout, and then you collapse, your body collapses, and your business collapses. So it's not a very good way out of the situation. So what I'm trying to say is that try to organize your life in the way that you have time for yourself, for recovering, for personal development. And there are a few things one needs to do when you have a burnout. And first is, of course, you have to quit doing what you've been doing for a while. If you have work, then you have to talk to your boss and say, I'm sorry, but I have to have some time alone. And if you're having a business, then try to organize it really in the way that it can run without you, at least for a while, or at least that you don't have to put too much effort into it all the time. You put some effort, but then you can take time off. And the second thing would be that you really take care of yourself. I would say that the most important thing that we often neglect is the amount of sleep and the quality of sleep that we need, and we need it so much. There are so many people who neglect that and they don't sleep enough. And of course it depends, some people can sleep less hours and that's okay for them. But if you feel like you don't get enough and it's a constant situation, then it's really time to change something, because you cannot go too long like that. Sleep is more important than even healthy food or exercise. And of course then healthy food would be also a recommendation from my side, because if you don't get healthy stuff, then it doesn't help you to recover. And the same with exercises. Even now I'm going to have a few days off, up to 1 week, but I will make sure that I exercise every day, I go for a walk every day, and maybe join some other activities. You might want to visit some family and friends, but take care that you don't do too much, because the last weekend I've been doing so much that I was also staying late, and drinking a little bit more than I usually do, and also it was too much going on, too much traveling here and there. And then at some point I realized that this kind of change of the activity is good to some point, but if you want to really relax, then you stay in one place and do some activities, but make sure you sleep enough, you exercise, you eat healthy, and you don't overdo also with having fun, and being social, so to say. And it's also very important that you find some time for your mind to relax, for meditating, for listening to some relaxed music, for reading some interesting books, which are also can lead you to your personal development, things that distract you from everyday life, from your work and so on. This would be very important. And all those things are also important for an everyday situation, because every day you need this sleep, you need this rest, you need this food and exercise, and you need to work on personal development. But when you have a burnout, you should make sure that you actually do all of it, and that you do it without having a job. And one more thing you really need to do is to have some break from your phone, because being on your phone all the time brings more stress than you imagine. Staying too long on social media and having too much going on in front of you, having too many imprints, and overloading yourself and overwhelming yourself with a lot of stuff which you mostly don't need, that is not a great idea, especially if you have a burnout. You should quit that. So live a simple life, but stay physically healthy and active. That would be an important thing. And again, for the future, think about creating some ways of income that you can get, even if you don't have power enough to perform as well as you used to be able. So how about you? Do you feel like you hate what you're doing? Do you feel like you don't want to do what you used to love doing? Do you have the feeling of being detached from what you're doing? If so, then you might be very close to a burnout, or maybe you are going through one. So let me know in the comments how you feel and what are the things that help you in those situations. Please share it with me so that maybe I learned from you, because this is really a right time for me to learn some new tricks when it comes to having a burnout and how to deal with that. Otherwise, make sure you also subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, because hopefully next Wednesday I'm recovered and come back with a new video where I'm more energetic and not just staying in bed, like today. And give this video a like. It really helps me spread this message all over YouTube so that more people can benefit from it. And meanwhile, watch some other videos of mine on business and self-development over here, and make sure that you work to live and not that you live to work. Have a great day and see you next time.